Welcome to the deep dive. You send us your sources. We dig in and pull out the key insights for you.
Cutting through all the noise.
Exactly. We know you, the learner, want to get a solid handle on complex stuff fast without, feeling totally buried.
And today we're jumping into Bubblemaps, based on the materials you shared.
Right. So our mission, pretty simple, really. Figure out what Bubblemaps actually is. What's the deal with its token, BMT, and well, why should you care?
Okay, let's start there. Bubblemaps. What is it?
Yeah, at its core.
So think of it as like a translator for blockchain data. It takes all that complex, messy on-chain info.
Which is usually just lines of code and numbers, right?
Exactly. And
Yeah.
it turns it into these visual maps, interactive ones. Makes it way easier to see connections, patterns, that sort of thing, more efficient.
Because, yeah, trying to follow the money or tokens on a standard block explorer, it can feel impossible sometimes. What specific pain points does this visual thing solve?
Well, the sources point out that even though the data is public, it's super technical.
Right.
So Bubblemaps aims to make it accessible.
For regular folks.
Yeah, for more people. They specifically mention things like spotting when a few wallets secretly hold most of a new meme coin.
The classic rug pull setup.
Could be. Or like when a celebrity promotes a coin but is actually holding a huge bag themselves, quietly.
Right, stuff you wouldn't easily see otherwise.
That's the idea, exposing those hidden concentrations, potential, dodgy dealings visually.
Making the hidden stuff visible. And a big part of that is the user interface, right? Making it easy.
Absolutely. That's flagged as a key thing. The visuals are meant to be intuitive, lowering that barrier to entry. You don't need to be a coding genius to start getting insights.
So the goal is to help people spot those hidden supply tricks quickly.
That's what they say, yeah. Make it much simpler for everyone.
And it looks like people are finding it useful. The numbers mentioned. 500,000 monthly users, 10 million views on X.
Yeah, those are pretty big numbers. It suggests there's a real hunger for tools like this. People want easier ways to understand what's happening on chain.
Plus, they've got partnerships with some big names. Solana, Base, Polygon.
And integrations too, right? Pump.fun, Photon, DX Screener, even Etherscan.
Yeah, that sounds like they're plugging into the places people are already working.
For sure. It shows they want to be, part of the standard toolkit across different chains. The sources also get into their main products.
Right. Let's talk about Bubblemaps V2. That's the main platform now. What's new there?
V2 seems like a pretty big step up. They talk about magic nodes.
Magic nodes. Okay, sounds intriguing. What does that mean?
It uses AI, artificial intelligence, to automatically find hidden patterns and clusters in the data.
Whoa, okay. AI scanning blockchain data for hidden groups. That sounds powerful. What could that uncover?
Well, potentially it could spot groups of wallets acting together, maybe controlled by one person or, colluding somehow.
Even if they look separate on the surface?
That's the promise. Finding those subtle links that might show manipulation or like secret accumulation, stuff that's really hard to find manually.
Okay, that could be huge for spotting insider stuff.
Yeah.
What else is in V2?
There's also time travel.
Like a DeLorean for token history.
Huh. Sort of. It lets you see the whole history of how a token supply was distributed right from the start. You can rewind and see how ownership changed over time.
That's cool. See how the concentration evolved.
Exactly. And they added Tracer, which gives you more control, adding, removing addresses, importing your own data sheets.
More customization.
Yep. And importantly, V2 supports multiple blockchains natively, so it's not just stuck on one chain.
So it's more than just nice visuals now. It sounds like it's got some serious analytical tools under the hood.
Yeah.
And it's getting a reputation.
Seems like it. The sources suggest it's becoming a standard tool for, due diligence on tokens, understanding the tokenomics, the risks.
They mentioned some examples.
Yeah, like their work on Uniswap and Aces Teensies, tracking that Stammer Sahil, exposing insider activity with Nero. It shows how these visuals can really bring things to light, things that impact the whole discussion.
Bringing transparency, basically. Okay, besides V2, there's also this Intel desk. What's that about?
Right, the Intel desk. That adds a community angle. It's a system where users, specifically those holding the BMT token.
Ah, the token comes in here.
Yeah, they can use their BMT to vote on which investigations Bubblemaps should tackle next.
So the community helps decide where they point their investigative lens. How does that work?
It's about democratizing the process, letting the users, who are often the ones most affected by scams or whatever, guide the focus, promoting transparency through community involvement.
Interesting. Okay, let's dive into that token then, BMT. What does it actually do?
So, like we just said, its main uses are about access and community power. Voting on the Intel desk is one key thing.
And the other.
The other big one is unlocking premium features in Bubblemaps V2.
Premium features, like what exactly?
Things like getting full access to those AI insights from magic nodes, being able to calculate profit and loss right on the platform, and running cross-chain analysis.
Okay, so holding the token gives you the advanced tools and a say in the investigations.
Pretty much. It ties together community engagement and access to the platform's deeper capabilities.
Makes sense. What about the token itself? Supply, distribution, that kind of thing?
Okay, so total supply is capped at 1 billion BMT, fixed supply.
1 billion. Got it.
When it listed on Binance, the initial circulating supply was around 261.5 million tokens, so about 26% of the total.
And they did an airdrop too.
Yep, 30 million BMT, which is 3% of the total, was allocated for a HO dealer airdrop.
Okay. And the funding. How'd they raise money initially?
They raised $6.1 million through an equity round and then 3 separate token sale rounds.
Different prices in those rounds.
Yeah. The token round sold about 19.35% of the supply in total, with prices at, let's see, 0.043, 0.02 dollars, 0.03 sales, and 0.035 per token.
Okay. And wasn't there a Binance sale too?
Right? Good catch. There was also a Binance Wallet IDO initial DEX offering that raised another $0.8 million, selling 4% of the supply at 0.02 zilters per BMT.
So if you add those up, 19.35% plus 4%, that's 23.35% of the total supply sold through funding rounds.
Exactly. Knowing that initial distribution helps you understand the token's starting economics, who got in early at what prices.
Definitely. Okay, so that's the token. What about their track record? The sources mentioned a roadmap or milestones achieved.
Yeah, they included a timeline. Always good to see what's actually been built.
For sure. What are the highlights?
It goes back to Q3 2022, integrating Sonic and Avalanche. Then in 2023, they added Polygon, then OpenSea integration.
So steadily adding chains and platforms.
Right, and they also did their equity fundraising in Q3 2023.
Okay, what about more recently, like last year?
2024 looks like it was busy. Q2 had Base and Solana integrations, plus that Pump.Fun iframe.
Pump.Fun, yeah, big for meme coins on Solana.
Then Q3 saw integrations with Etherscan, Photon, DEX Screener. Those are major tools.
Integrating with the big players.
Yeah. And then the big one, Q4 2024, was the Bubblemaps V2 release we talked about.
That V2 launch definitely feels like a key moment. And this year, 2025.
Well, in Q1, they had the BMT token launch, the TGE, and also integrations with CoinGecko and Jupiter.
More visibility, more access points for the token.
Exactly. So yeah, the timeline shows pretty consistent building and expanding over the last couple of years.
Good to see that follow through. Okay, last piece. The community. Where do people hang out if they want to connect?
The usual spots, really. Twitter, Telegram, and Discord are listed as the main hubs.
Standard crypto community channels.
Yep. Places to connect with the team, ask questions, get updates.
Okay, let's wrap this up then. To summarize, Bubblemaps is this visual analytics tool for blockchain data.
Making it easier to understand who owns what and spot potential risks.
Right. The BMT token is key for community voting on investigations and for accessing the premium features in their V2 platform.
And that V2 platform seems to be gaining traction, exposing some interesting on-chain stuff.
Plus, they have a track record of building and integrating over the past few years.
That covers the main points from the sources, I think.
Yeah. So, for you, the learner, here's something to chew on. Bubblemaps shows this trend towards making really complex data visual and, well, more community-focused. Think about where else this could apply. What other fields beyond crypto are drowning in complicated info that could really use this kind of visual, accessible approach? Something to ponder.
Definitely an interesting question.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.